Okay, we're live. I almost forgot. I need like music. Oh, that's the wrong button. People liked the music. Can I be signed into two accounts at once? Probably, right? On the same Chrome. Yeah, perfect. All right, what type of music should we listen to? We'll do hmm 1980 Japanese city pop. What is this? Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know. This might be a bit much. Oh, but there's singing. Oh, it's pop. No, 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 no. We need lo-fi stuff. All right, this will work. This feels like my vibe today. I'm cool with that. I gotta bring up the chat. Let's pop out the chat. Pop out the chat. Awesome. Let me know. Let me know if that music's too loud. We'll fix it up. Actually, should I switch chairs so the back isn't? Ugh. I actually stream and make videos in an uncomfortable chair, so it can be. Yeah, you get it. It doesn't have a back. You don't see the back anyway. It has a back. It's just lower, so you can't see it. But I have to like sit up super straight, which is probably a good thing. But that's all right. All right, what do I need to change here so you can see? Let's get this all set up right. You want to see all the red? Is that what we want to look at? Probably. Oh, yeah, there's the red. Oh, yeah, there we go. Perfect. Actually, that works well. All right. I don't really like. I lose. It's a big enough screen, so I lose a little bit, but fits well in the stream. There he is. What's going on, Showcase? So funny story. I stopped working out like 2 weeks ago, and talk about feeling the soft, man. Ugh. Definitely. I don't know. I can't get myself back into it right now. I haven't felt well. I strained my back carrying a sheet of plywood that was back, 1 inch by, sheet of plywood, 1 inch thick. And I was outside. It was like the treated plywood. So that was fun. I'm not that big a guy. So like that was, I don't know, probably like 80 pounds. Hello, good Theta. The redness? Yeah. I think you're talking about me for a second. I'm like, I could be red at times. So like legitimately, oh, the mic. I didn't even check that. Sorry. That's probably all like off sounding. Yeah, dude, a lot of red. We'll talk about that a little bit. I don't honestly, it doesn't show after hours on this anymore for some reason, which is probably fine. I actually think after hours last night was kind of pointless. Let me look on Yahoo Finance on my phone. So I'm not going to show you, but like we dropped even further after hour, but not everything. Like certain things ended up green. A bunch of stuff actually. One of which, by the way, one of which was Google or Reddit, but is no longer Reddit. But Nvidia, slightly green, slight 0.02%. QQQ, slightly green. Apple, GameStop, nice. I just sold so many GameStop puts. I guess I'm getting a whole bunch of GameStop, which I'm actually okay with. We'll talk about that though. Clove Hood, Deck, nice. VIX obviously is very green. Still not break even to what I sold it at, by the way, though. Robin, obviously, because Hood's green. And that's kind of it. But it is interesting to see that like we had a extended drop. And I do want to start with SPY on the screen anyway, because that can't... Oh, that's hilarious. Jeez. All right, we're going to make this circle a little bigger because... Or maybe... Here we go. Let's see. Let's make it fit the whole candle. There we go. Good Theta. I like your name, by the way. Are you from YouTube or somewhere else? Yeah, are you on the server? Oh, nice. Okay, now that makes sense. Perfect. Very cool. Yeah, so Spy, man, what a trip. That was a wild end. But I have like topics to talk about today because of this, and why we do some of the things we do that people question at times, which is good, right? You should question it. But like at the same time, I think this was a great example of just why. Now, I thought we went beyond this yesterday. Maybe that was after hours we went beyond it. But I thought we tested and dropped past the 50 SMA. So, okay, we're going to get into the trade stuff, but I feel like we got to talk about this. How's the music level, by the way? Hopefully it's all right. The idea that I've got here is to show when we test a major level beyond. At one point, I had the 8 EMA tests in here as well, but there's too many. It's all the time. We test that all the time. Music, okay, cool. But I was putting down anytime we tested the 21 EMA and the 30 EMA, and the fact was we haven't tested the 50 in a while. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? The other thing that's interesting is once we kind of got out of our own way here, this was actually a test of, look at this. Not quite. We didn't quite test it. We dropped close. But we tested like 3 lines at once. The 200, 100, and 50. This was like a mega golden cross thing happening. Not actually. The golden cross is over here. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like we're crossing over into bullish territory after tariff mania. And then we didn't test anything. I mean, I guess we technically tested here, but it was so consolidated that it didn't feel like a test. We were really just sideways chopping. But here we tested for real, right? Big drop test to the 34 EMA. This is amazing when you look at it. You're like, oh, okay, TA is all made up. And then you're like, yeah, but it touched the line perfectly every time. So then you go, oh, maybe TA actually does something. We tested again the 34 EMA. And now we decided to, I'm still going to say we tested this even though it was after hour. We did test the 50 SMA. So, part of me wonders, like, will the next test be the 100? And we will test again, right? Like, we know that's going to happen. Is that the point where we're talking about a bearish reversal type deal? I don't know. But what I do know is this test seems generally normal in the spread here, right? Like, at first, it's like, oh, we tested so soon after this one. Well, I got rid of this one because it didn't feel like it was that real. It was like a very quick tappy tap, and then we closed way above it, right? Almost back above the EMA for that matter. So we're at the EMA. So when I look at these, I'm like, look, my circles are getting slightly bigger. Maybe that's just because I drew them bigger. But this bar is obviously the Eye of Sauron over here of tests that we've had in the last 6 months since April. Now, I wouldn't call this a test. This was clearly just panic drop, obviously down to the 400s for SPY, which, by the way, anyone who bought like 500 calls down here, my goodness, did they print for leaps? Oh, up so much even today. But yeah, I look at this and I'm like, this is kind of normal. This is okay. So the other thing to think about here is look at your watch list and what barely moved. And there's a few. Showcase, your favorite NEM only dropped 0.08%. What's going on, Crazy Jimmy? Good to see you. So like NEM, very solid. GT, which is interesting, at one point barely moved, and now it moves significantly, so I feel differently about it now. CRM, 1.5%, one of the lighter impacts. And I look at these because, well, one, I have leaps for CRM. And I'm like, okay, this actually wasn't that terrifying. I don't have leaps for Nem, but now I'm like, oh, maybe I should have leaps for Nem. This is telling me that, like, hey, this is a very stable price. Oh, did I ever show you this showcase? I drew a giant cup and handle for Nem. I'm not sure this is going to happen, but I did forget I did that. And this might be the excuse we need for it to do something like this. But yeah, like Nem, all of a sudden I'm like, hey, that held very well. So did UUU, obviously, as it stayed positive, one of the few, barely, right? And yeah, it was one of those, like, where did we react really heavily and where did we not? Now, Applied just had their earnings, so this is kind of, I don't want to call it like a one-off or a black swan or anything like that. Oh, hey, I never started my event. Hold on a second. I forgot I got to do that. Oh, it started. Perfect. Sorry about that for anyone who uses that as the trigger to jump in. Although we're just talking about random stuff now anyway. So yeah, ignore that. ASPI was interesting. We were up 30% at one point on ASPI. This is the isotope company that Kodu actually brought to my attention, and I am paying attention to it. I sold puts for 9, and after hours we dropped to like 9. Maybe it was this 941 level. I don't think I have after hour on enabled, or it's not showing for some reason. Time zone. Does a time zone have it? I thought you could put after hours on here. What am I doing? Someone help me. How am I missing? Is it settings? Well, whatever. If I could find it, great. But regardless, this has been an interesting where it still did well in the drop, but that's only because it was up so much, so it dropped back to half. And then you had things like CoreWeave that got pummeled, which was interesting because this is one where I had puts that I bought back, and I also had calls that I thought for sure were going away when we were at 152. Come on, man. You had to have a crazy swing showcase, I would imagine. Nem is investing in money. It's solid and boring. Yeah, I agree. But, like, that shows the power of diversification into instruments like that. And I was playing with Nem a little bit, but I should have thought about that a little bit. After hour doesn't work on the daily? Really? Is that what it is? Oh, you might be right. Oh, you're a genius. Thank you, Saul. Awesome. Helpful, as always. Yeah, so if I go on the 2-hour chart, another reason to use a 2-hour. CoreWeave finished even down further, by the way. Let's see what SPY did. Where did we end on SPY? Yeah, so we had this mega drop down. Oh, I thought it was even further. Huh. Well, regardless, that drop, we then recovered. Oh, that is okay. That is what the daily is showing. It's showing. It didn't show a wick down there. I don't know. But if you look at this one, right, like on the 2-hour, we dropped below all the moving averages. Yeah. Okay, this is showing it much more clearly here. We dropped into absolute hell according to the 2-hour chart. Anyway, Sauron's eye is complete here. You were at work, so you missed the ride. That's a good thing. CoreWeave, though, you had if you were as big in CoreWeave as I think you are still, man, you saw a swing today. From 152 to what is the after hour for CoreWeave? What did we drop as low to? We tested the 100 MA there. 133. Okay, that wasn't that bad actually. I thought for some reason I thought it was worse. NBIS had a big drop too, though. Yeah, we touched down low. What low? Low. 120 was low, right? All right, we're gonna go back to the daily though, because it gets so messy looking at after hours. And honestly, it's not a whole lot of relevance because we're not participating typically in option selling after hours. Friday does kind of matter in terms of like where you're going to get assigned and all that, but otherwise, who cares? Okay, so it's past 8:30. My first rant and ramble is complete. Um, I did want to actually I did want to ask one question on that topic, and that was real simply, could humans have caused this? Now, humans obviously created the stock market, so yes, like no matter what, humans impacted it. But like when I say humans, I mean could we have caused this panic drop? And I think a lot of people have rightfully called out algorithmic trading as being the culprit here because like I feel like most retail did the same thing and we just were like, holy cow, look at the bar drop. Right? You weren't doing anything about it. You were just like staring at it. And this is actually my first point that I wanted to talk about. And that was I haven't updated my NLV numbers yet or cash on hand. It's probably something like, I don't know, somewhere around here. Maybe it's a bit more than that actually. Yeah, this is 25K. This is like 118 maybe. I don't know. Whatever. I think I'm like near 200K of cash. And the reason I didn't update this is because I don't want to look at it. 100%. I feel the same way that everybody feels when stuff goes red. I don't want to look at it. I'm going to look at it next week. I don't care right now. Because for one, NOV is an output metric. Okay? We do not have control over our NLV as it is a snapshot in time of net liquid value. How can you possibly impact your current net liquid value? So why focus on that? I think it's important to check. It is an important result. At the end of the day, that's also at the same time, while we have no direct control over it, and I'll explain that in a second, we do care mostly about it, right? Because that is our measure of long-term success. However, I can tell you from my time when I was running factories, there were many occasions where, we had metrics like our sales metric, and as the plant, as the factory, I would tell my team like, look, who cares? It is what it is. We don't have direct control over that today. It's happening. It's happened. What we have direct control over are the inputs. And in our case, as traders, as retail traders, specifically Theta Daddies, our control is selling options, right? That's our strategy. So if we continue to have positive impact from selling options, the NOV will happen. There's this thing that like I look at it like bellows, right? Like, or an accordion. Bellows makes more sense though, because like you can use the fire metaphor of we're stoking the fire, and you squeeze out the air, and then it takes a second to fill it back up with air, and then you squeeze it out again, right? That's what like portfolios do, at least well diversified portfolios. And I'm not saying I have got the best diversity in my portfolio. I don't, honestly. In fact, that is something I've been thinking more and more about, is how do I kind of better balance that between growth but also wealth preservation in times and moments like these. And the answer is you can't always, because again, you don't have control over your NLV unless you're self-sabotaging, right? And you decide to sell everything and then give your money away. Okay, well, guess what? You have that type of control over your NLV, yes. But generally, like, you can't just make it bigger. If you could, everybody would be a billionaire. It's obvious, right? Like that, clearly. What we have control over is very simply our focus and discipline on a strategy that we long-term not only believe in, but now have very sufficient amounts of proof that works well over time. As long as we're not buying high and selling low, we're fine. Because we do know that over time, despite this big drop, guess what? This big drop is still above the all-time high in September, early September, right? The trend, like, always zoom out. what does that bar represent when you look at where we've been? Even when we were in like the January, February all-time, oh my God, everything's overvalued highs. Look where we are. It's not bad. And if you continue to just sell options and generate premiums without losing shares below your cost basis, you're winning. And that is what I think personally is what we should be focused on as a trading group. You know, don't panic sell, because what's the benefit going to be? And the fact is, like, not only will Monday likely continue some trend up, right? There's an arrow version here I should probably use, right? Where's the arrow? Where's the arrow? It's one of these. It's one of these. I'm gonna find it eventually. You know, maybe it's. Oh, we need a better color than that. Let's go green. You can kind of see that, right? We just gotta make it thicker. There you go. Ah, beautiful green arrow. You know, like, we're probably gonna just continue on this path, and yeah, realistically, it could be December before we're back above here. I don't know, whatever. Who cares? We know historically the chart goes up and to the right because money keeps entering the system, people keep investing, and there's really no other place to put your money besides like real estate and stuff that in crypto, which is kind of not in the S&P 500, it's not in SPY, but it is represented and correlated heavily with equities, right? So my whole point is we don't panic here. We look at this as just another mild correction. And as long as we keep doing the things that we say we're going to do, the NOV will go up. And there are times where I think it's fine to not look at your NOV. Because who cares? Like, what is looking at it today going to make me do differently? It's not. I'll probably feel like crap. Look, I know that number is probably minus $100,000. Right? Like, legitimately, it probably is. That's fine. But the exercise of typing it in, I just didn't feel like doing it. All right, so my long rant to why I didn't update these numbers before this meeting, beyond the fact that honestly I haven't had much time because I got visitors, but it is a thing that I think is worth talking about. Is we all feel that way, and it's okay. Really, it's okay to close your eyes every once in a while and ignore it because it doesn't impact you. Now, we're not in the corporate world. I'm not going to tell on you. I'm not going to tell your boss that you ignored your sales number for the week. Who gives a shit? Make sure that you've got different tools and techniques to help you manage through whatever's happening right now to make it through the market so that you don't do things like panic sell and all that fun stuff. All right. Now my first real ramp and soapbox is over. Let me catch up here on chat. Hey, DT made it. Good to see you. You have 2 million in CoreWeave. You saw a mega swing then. Crazy Jimmy, it's the psychology factor. Yeah, for sure. 100%. But what are you going to do? Again, the only thing you can ever do is watch it go down if you want to ruin it. Hopefully you don't. Okay, cool. You're all feeling, we're hugging it out. This is good. What's going on, Kodu? I like how you said Kodu checking in when I read it as Kodu checking in. Very nice. Now, from a option selling standpoint, it was fine. This week was funny because like it shows poorly with a 7,500 return, which is only 0.5% for me. But and the goal is 1%. But I do want to show that like if we skip the strategy sell here of the shares, it was 18K, which would otherwise be well over 1%, 18,418, right? Something like that. Yeah, 1.4%. And I talked about this on the Discord a little bit. We're going to jump into master strategy first because I sold the CC at good profit, like 85% profit or something like that. But I got out of the shares and I switched into a combination of IBIT and ETHA. So this is like what I would like to call this is an in-kind transfer. I'm not going to because you'll all make fun of me. I can delete that. But like realistically, that is all I did here. But transactionally, I have to realize the loss in strategy. You know, this is one of those things where, and let's talk about it. So first off, did I lose money on strategy? The answer is no. With everything that happened, I still net 14K on the lifetime of the plays this year, which is, you know, on average, you know, 70K of capital tied up in those plays. So let's see, 14, what was it, 14.5 or something like that? I didn't really look that close. No, 14 flat. 14 divided by, call it, well, let's call it 75,000. I typically did 2 contracts and like, okay, 19% on that over 4 months or so. That's like what, times 3. It's still like a 55% return on all strategy plays. I call that a win, even with that transactional loss that I'm talking about here. And the thing is, like, again, I don't really view this as a loss, as I changed my holding strategy to IBIT and ETHA, which, by the way, I can still sell CCs on, and probably will. I thought about doing it and probably should have, because after that mega drop, that would have been nice, but who knew? Instead of strategy. And the reason I did that, I actually even took strategy off my watch list at this point because I don't plan on going back in. The idea here was like, look, and I got some cool new frames to look at. We can do this now, and I actually have it set up already, where the drops on strategy were getting to be worse and worse than, like, look at this. Look at how much we dropped. We dropped from 365 to 305 versus 71 to 66. Now, I don't know what the percentages are. They're probably similar. The thing is, when we were going up in on IBIT, which is basically a 1-for-1 to Bitcoin, we were not doing the same anymore on strategy. And it's becoming disjointed. And what I think is going to happen is, I think IBIT is going to continue to mirror Bitcoin perfectly, and Bitcoin is going to, like, or strategy is going to have this, how do I draw this? Oh god, what did I do? I think it's going to start being like this asymptotic NAV reduction to 1.0. So like right now, strategy has some sort of net asset value multiple compared to Bitcoin. And as it loses its meme juice, which is what kept it at a higher NAV compared to Bitcoin, it's actually just like going to be a slow burn down, in my opinion. So if that's the case, well, if we're going to approach an NAV of 1.0 multiple to Bitcoin long term, or close to that, again, asymptotically, that's why I've got Metaplanet here. It's the same effect happening. Look, this is not following Bitcoin, despite calling themselves a Bitcoin treasury, as we see up here. I'm out. I'm not touching these things anymore. I think treasuries have lost their luster as people have kind of realized, like, hey, especially with the whole Misty and other strategy derivatives, like the 2x's and things like that, that just continues to reduce volatility on these. You're going to just lose out on premium capabilities being juiced from things like strategy. So why play with it? Just go, at that point, you might as well just jump to IBIT or some Bitcoin equivalent. I guess Bitcoin, you could do Bitcoin direct, but IBIT lets me sell covered calls. And in that split from strategy, in talking with specifically Average Advisor and Bob Dog, they had good advice of like, well, if you're going to do that, why don't you slightly diversify your crypto into the two big ones, which is IBIT and ETH, or Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? The fact is, I don't know shit about Ethereum. I think Average Advisor put it well. He's like, it's think about it as like gold and silver. So certainly, I'm not about to try to preach to anybody on anything crypto related, but I did decide, like, okay, this is a good point for me to jump from strategy to a split on the underlying and just have that diversification. And I decided to stick with the exact strategy position size to make it an in-kind transfer, but also it's a 5% diversification into crypto, which I think is fine. A lot of people recommend 10 or more. I don't. And everyone thinks that Bitcoin will be $1 million by 2030. That comes from someone on Twitter, I'm sure. That is copium and making everyone feel like, oh yeah, it'd be great if that's what it was. Like, yeah, we all own it. We all want it to be that. Yeah, well, yeah, of course you're gonna say that, right? But anyway, that was my thought process behind the strategy exit and basically reclassification to IBIT and Ethereum A. Wow, I was going crazy on that one. What's going on, Peter? You should make fun of me. I make fun of me. Oh, Muffin made it. You woke up? Yeah, I went to a dark mode. I was tired of blinding myself, which you would think that I would do it here at some point as well. Can I do that? I could probably do that with like table settings. I probably shouldn't do that while I'm sitting here on stream, but here we are. Where's the dark table? They're not like, nothing's dark theme. I don't like it. There's got to be like here. Why is the table not dark too? Oh, it's a custom theme. That's why. I could just do that, I guess. What happens? Whatever. All right, we're not gonna do this now. We'll fix this another day. All right, so we've already covered strategy. I'm gonna highlight that as blue. Done. We're done with strategy. We could talk deck real quick since we're down at the bottom here. And same deal here. I've decided I'm going to exit deck. So I bought back my CC chain while we were in hell for deck, and I made a nice $90. And I don't know why I've been holding this for so long. I was like, we're gonna make something out of this, and at some point it's like, no, we're not. It's time to exit. So I'm gonna free up probably 100K of deck, take a 17K hit on that at some point, and just get out. I am gonna wait until we're back above 100, most likely, because that's probably just gonna bounce back. Like there's a timing. If I had a really good play that I was going to deploy this cash in, I would probably just take that extra 5K hit, but I don't have that in mind at this exact moment. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see on that one. But yeah, finally decided it's time to cut the bags. I'm slightly net positive on the options here, so I was like, or at least we're not going to take a double loss on that. And we'll see. We'll see when I decide to actually jump out of that. Otherwise, let's talk about actual plays. We had a nice little ADBG swinger for exactly 1K early in the week on Monday. I had another opportunity to make another 2K on this, and I decided to hold, which in hindsight was a bad idea. We could have sold at like 1090, bought it at 1040, and made another 2K. And this is like the whole thing about, and this kind of went against my swing trade rules. I was like, I think looking at the chart, maybe there's more upside, but this is where we just got to take profit, right? What happened to here? Why is that the wrong color? There we go. And I should have, in that case, just sold it for 2K. Am I worried about it? No, I think it'll be fine. Are you really barking outside my office right now? No, she's not barking to come in, by the way. She's barking because our guest is leaving. Sorry. But yeah, this swing trade was good. And now I have an in-process swing trade that could have been good and now is going to sit for probably a week before I end up selling it. And I could have already have made another 2K on it. Realized, saw it on the chart, $2,400 or something. Also did a lot of work with Bull. I bought back CCs that, realistically, in hindsight, this was a mistake. I should have waited for the full profit on the CCs, and it was I don't want to call it misunderstanding of like what would happen once the sell side, what do we call it, the share lockup was released. The shackles were released. Oh my gosh, let me text my wife to like fix our dog. Did she stop? Maybe she stopped. Please get the dog. I said food. So this is definitely a play where I think I should have just let it expire fully. My thought process was I didn't think we were going to drop nearly as much as we did, and I thought we were going to have much more of a pop on the other side. But regardless, I should have just let this one go to expiration, because I would have been happy if it went for 16. That would have been a huge day. So really, I kind of missed out on 1,800 here. So now I missed out on 2K on the swing and 18. Ooh, this is getting painful. But overall, I'm not upset about the trade, and Bull in general was fine. I do have another 3,000 shares now at $13, which was actually fine. I'm good with that because it's lowering my cost basis. And then this didn't happen. That got accidentally copied down. So yeah, premium was still 3K for Bull. Lowered the cost basis quite a bit there. And then I do have more 1250s for next week, which at 1140, that looks like it could be painful, but the CSP was paying good at the time, 4%. So I'm also fine with this, but now I'm definitely at my max position size for Bull. Plain and simple. I will most definitely be selling lower CCs for Friday for next week on Monday. And I don't think I did anything with these yet for next week, which I could have, but I didn't think that it was good timing as things were dropping like a rock. But in hindsight, maybe I should have sold some CCs for next week early on in the drop. But who knows? I probably never would have got them to fill anyway with how quickly things were dropping. Now on to more exciting stuff. Well, let me catch up on chat because I've been talking. It is early. I've been up since 6:20 though. Mostly because I accidentally set an alarm and forgot to turn it off. What's going on, Alec? You made it. Are you working today? You got a 12-hour shift going or what? Hopefully not. You've been up since 5. Oh, so you must be working then. Or you're just always on schedule? Do you wake up later on days you don't work, or you just keep waking up at 5 anyway? I would think that it makes more sense to just wake up at 5. I don't know. All right. Lunar is a fun one to talk about. It's you clean up. This was a leap play that me and Frizzle got out of at the same time, but I'm cool with that. Could have got a little bit more juice from this squeeze, I think, but only within like a few hours, honestly. And then it dropped back down below our cup here. And this is interesting because maybe this is starting our handle a little bit a day early. Could be. I don't know. We could still go a little bit higher here on, say, Monday, and maybe we complete the cup up here. But this generally followed the cup shape perfectly. This cup was drawn probably somewhere down here when we got into the leaps. And I'm very happy with how this played out. I got out here, somewhere in the 1280s, when I sold this option to close, this leap. And it was a good play. Overall, it was, I think, 80% profit, something like that. I should put a little profit calculator on here too, so I'm not always typing it in. But yeah, 14, 4, divided by 790 is, yeah, 82%. So that was good. 20 contracts. And this was just like a perfectly executed leap. So on this, Muffin, Frizzil. I thought he said it was Frizzle, didn't he? Pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure I've been saying Frizzell, and then he's like, no, it's Frizzle, and you're like, no, it's Frizzil, like Brazil. No, I don't think that's. I think you're actually the one who's not claiming or saying his name correctly. We can't know if he's not here. I'm pretty sure he said it wasn't pronounced like Frizzil. Magic school busy lady. What? School bus? Yeah, so he and I got out at the same time. And we had a good discussion on this. I thought, I was debating waiting for... Originally, I had a leap target here, by the way. Something like this at 13. And it said, it said this. But the fact was, we came so close to touching it. And it seemed like a good time to get out. So I did, because it hit my leap target. It was actually, this was down lower. Did it hit 13 that day? Oh, we got out this day. We got out on Wednesday. So we got really close to it and decided that, you know what? This could be where we start the handle. So let's get out now. 80%, nobody's crying about 80% return in what was really just a couple weeks for that leap. I sold, these were 7 C's, by the way, right? So I sold in the money way down here, somewhere down here, 7 C's. And I don't think anyone can complain about taking profit at that point. It was basically at the leap target. And if we were to even touch the leap target but handle, there's a good chance that you never sell it at a better price. So yeah, sold them at 820, I think, which was interesting because 720. I think, these are the ones I tried to sell at 8. They never hit. I think the highest I could have sold these at were like 750, maybe 760. So yeah, he sold them for 720. I got 4 cents better trying to sell them at 725 for a bit, and eventually I gave up. And we got out. So we'll call that a win. Got off the phone with Bob Dog, says it's Frizzle. Like, for Frizzle my nizzle? Something like that. You text them. Is this the Discord group chat? I didn't see anything come through. NCIS? You like NCIS too? I don't like NCIS. I used to watch NCIS mostly because my wife, her parents, anytime they were over, they'd be watching NCIS. What's going on, Lord Mar? Good to see you. You guys played Path? Yeah, I didn't get in on the Path action. Probably should have. I did a lot of leaps and one really degenerate play, which we'll get to in a second. You could argue RXRX was degenerate. Let's see what happened actually with RXRX, because this was a play. Oh my god, this was a play that I got in here because Average Advisor, and this is a little bull flag thing going on for sure, right? We definitely had a bull flag here. Average Advisor sold me on the idea of now's a great time for leaps. And I'm like, all right, I used to play RXRX every once in a while, and then I decided to get out. Let's see if RX has made me money over time. Yeah, it's made me 3,000. Okay, I can't really hate on it that much, but we spiked to the 631. I swear I sold it here. I swear I sold my leaps here. And originally I had a leap target. I told people oh yeah, probably up here. We could get back to 8, the top of this. Yeah, I said 8, the top of the fibs. No, I don't have patience for that. I hate RXRX. This is the most annoying stock that I've played besides BBAI. I hate BBAI too. I know some of you love it. So yeah, the bar was up here. I sold it somewhere in this range and got out. I'm like, I'm never touching this stock again. Why did I do this? So it got out. But I will say overall, it's made money for me, and I can't really complain. But we walked out with this with a little bit of luck on our side with $380. This was, I did say it was a volume experiment. And we got to change this to actually. No, I hate this stock. Low. And got out. What was the volume? Let me look. Yeah, so here was this kind of like cup and handle thing happening. A very misshapen cup. Like you can definitely draw a cup here that it could happen, could still happen. I just, again, I don't really like this stock. So will we peak back up to here? I don't think so now. I think at this point, with what just happened, we broke our whole cup. It's dead. Because look at the volume. Basically, like did everybody watch my YouTube short? That was terrible, by the way, on how to draw a cup and handle in 30 seconds, which was a lie, because it actually took like 45 seconds to make that video. You drop down and make a cup shape on the chart. Obvious. We were actually looking for a similar profile in the volume down here, which we have a little bit, but the fact is we've already peaked, beyond peaked, at a level higher than where the cup started, which, by the way, I said the cup started over here. So like the cup shape has already ended. And because volume was increasing still, I was thinking, and I think this was a fine thought, because you want to go where the volume is, the interest is. I was like, oh, we're going to catch a wave. And we did, not in the way that I expected. We did catch a pop for sure. And then I'm like, all right, this actually isn't reacting the way that I thought it would. So let's just get out of it. And so I got out. And I'm glad I did. You know, even the next day looked good from the cup perspective, the cup shape. But then yesterday obviously was just a disaster for everything. And with this breakdown, the cup's probably gone. I don't know. Maybe we get back up there. We still have a lot of volume interest. In fact, maybe this would be a good time to rebuy those leaps. I don't think I'm going to, but you could see us finish out the cup. That's a long spiel for how much I hate RXRX. NBIS. No, it's NBIS. Why you call it that other word that nobody else would ever call it? I missed that from a while ago. Followed you out of RXRX. Well, I'm glad you made a couple bucks there, Alex. Get out of that crap. What's the ticker PL thing? Oh, yeah. This is just like anything that I've done, I like to put it in to make sure. Ooh, that was a good one. I knew it was a good one. But like strategy was a good one because I thought I lost money. I'm like, oh no, it was a great set of trades. You know, we got Google, we got Bull. Whoop. Bull is a good one still. Bull is ridiculous. Like, this is when you look at the price drop and you're like, well, you've made more than half of the holding by selling CCs and CSPs on Bull. Can you really be upset that it dropped to 11 or 1050 or whatever it's at? I am not getting back into RXRX. There's no way. Where it hurt me in April. Actually, no. RXRX hurt me in many places. Not just April, but like April was a big one. It almost hurt me here. I got out for sure with some trades, swing trading it a little bit. I sold some options on it here. And then thankfully I was out before this drop. Or maybe I was in it for this drop and got out up here. And I was like, no, I'm done. Which is funny because this is just the April tariff stuff. But then it just had this like drop in low and sideways traded for a month. And this is where everybody was getting upset at Squeeze Kid on After Hour because he was pumping it as always. But like, we're definitely clearly bottomed out here. That must be what this yellow line is like a prior set of bottoms. Yeah. So I don't know. You look at this and the chart isn't terrible, but I don't believe in it in the way that Squeeze Kid seems to. I get it. I get the technology, the idea behind it, but I'm just like, who cares? It's just not exciting. And then with the volume increase here to some of the highest levels ever, right? This was a good time, I thought, to maybe get some action in it. But I think now the volume's going to subside. I don't think it's going to keep going up. But we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm not going to put it in my watch list though. It hasn't earned that right. Is that updated on my template? No, I need to put it in. It's real simple though. It's just some sum ifs. So like, yeah, you just do some sum ifs as long as it isn't this date, because that date is, it excludes the open share holdings, because you don't want to show open shares as a negative against your earnings when you can sell it for net zero or better often. Actually, not right now for a lot of stuff, but you get the idea. All right, and now we get into my most degenerate play, I think, of the year. Applied. Let's talk about Applied. You don't like the stock, you don't want to own it. That's right. Then don't even touch it. Can I copy and paste the code for you? Yeah, sure. This is the only one that really matters. There you go. Oh no. No, we need to delete that. I'm on the wrong account. No. All right, I'll put it in Discord later. So back to Applied now that I've outed myself temporarily, for anyone who's paying attention anyway. We had an incredibly degenerate play, and that was a literal coin flip gamble. So let's see. Oh, I alphabetized everything. At first, it was at the top of my list. So I was talking with Average Advisor, and he was like, hey, I have earnings in 37 minutes for Applied. And I think he had CSPs. I don't think he wasn't being degenerate. No, he has shares. He has just straight shares, uncovered. And he's like, the implied move was 30% or 35%. Does anyone remember what the actual implied move was? We could probably look it up. I'm not going to do that right now. But if anyone wants to look it up, the implied move said it was either going to be like $18 or $35. Yeah, 30%. Okay. So whatever 30% is from when I bought these things. So I said, okay, well let's just now I should actually look at the 2 hour, because are these after hours? Yeah, I think so. What am I looking at? Yeah, okay. So in the after hour trading, it didn't do much at earnings at first. So like I bought them when we were at 29 in change. I bought 30 C's, which is like basically no intrinsic value. So fully extrinsic, not a normal call I would do to begin with, but it was a little cheaper that way. And I got it so that it was a one DTE, days to expiration. And I thought this was the most degenerate way I could do it, where the contract value showed as 210. So I was like, perfect, 2 contracts cost $420. So I can make 420 jokes. This is what I'm doing with my life today. And I did. I tried to buy it for 420. It filled at 205. It ruined everything. And I debated like selling it to get rid of it after it didn't fill at 420. And I'm like, whatever, that's too much effort. We're just going to do this fully. We're fully committed. I did think at that point, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just buy 5 contracts then and make it a real gamble. And then I was like, no, this is a slippery slope. This is how you end up doing like a 10K 0 DTE SPY gambling. So we kept it to just 2 contracts at 410. And then we had the earnings call and nothing happened for a while. Like, I don't know if everyone remembers, but let me turn off the auto fibs. Like if you were watching, at first it was a double beat, by the way, and it looked terrible. Like it looked like we were going to drop the 30%. And I couldn't figure out why, because the surprise was good. 80% surprise to the positive. Like that seems pretty good. Maybe it was a quick like glance at the negative that people panicked, but no, it was obviously algo trading. And then all of a sudden at night, we were up to 34. And I was like, oh, I'm rich. Yay. And then I didn't sell right away because I wanted to try manually assigning the shares. I was like, yeah, let's take the shares. So I called Fidelity and I'm like, hey, I want the shares. And they're like, well, we can't do that. That's not how this works. And I'm like, what? I thought I could manually assign myself shares. And they're like, well, we can put in the request, but it doesn't transact until night. And I think that's true for every, at least for Fidelity, every options expiration that you want assignment on. Well, I learned two things. Number one, no matter what, if you let options go to expiration, they assign you the shares if you don't tell them what to do, which is funny. I'm like, oh, I've never gone to expiration before. And then they said, well, and you can only do it early expiration 1 day prior. Like if I had tried to do it on Thursday, I could have done it, which I couldn't because it wasn't in the money. But otherwise, she's like, I could put it in manually, but then it's still just going to execute at night with everything else. I'm like, oh, okay. So like you doing that doesn't have any impact. And she goes, no. Oh, okay. Well, then don't do it, because in that case, I lose flexibility, right? If you're locking yourself in. So by that time, it was somewhere around here, 10 a.m. And I'm like thinking about it. Should I take the shares? Then all of a sudden we spiked up to like 37. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sell this, because essentially I'm betting that the price will not drop from where I'm at if I want to get max profit. And this is really just one of those, I decided take profit when you see profit. And at this point it was $1,000. And I actually tried selling it at a lower number. I tried selling it at $8 for a contract. I bought it at 205 or 210. I tried selling it at $8. It ended up selling at 820 because we just had this random run up. And I'm like, okay, cool. And what happened from there was just drop the rest of the day, obviously, except for, the very end of the day. And after hours, we dropped as low as 29.80, which meant I wouldn't have gotten the shares potentially. And I would have just purely lost all of that profit. Now, even if I did end up getting the shares because we closed officially, right, like above 30, the value would have been $500 less. So or whatever that is. So like, long story long, I'm very glad that I sold the calls and just took the profit when I saw it, because the idea is, and this is why like a lot of people say, just sell it. Don't wait for assignment. This is maximum flexibility because it's cash. You could buy the shares at that point, or you could just do nothing and take the cash. And had I waited, I can to this day, right now, buy the shares for way cheaper and still maintain the profit that I had. Right? Like that's the idea of why you wouldn't hold this forever. And the idea against assigning shares, unless you're going to assign early for some reason, which I'm sure there's reasons you might do that. And I don't know if there's any tax implications that would be avoided by doing that. Probably not. I don't think there is, but that could be a reason as well. So that was the DGen play. Managed to sell up here, and we finished way down here. So all good. Happy with how that worked out. Thanks, Average Advisor, for making me a bunch of money unexpectedly. I was totally expecting to lose $400, and instead we made $1,000. Awesome. All right, Kate's talking about tacos and pizza in Italy. Can I copy and paste the code? Oh, we talked about that. I've been so mad if you ended up selling because the meme failed. Yeah, that's for sure. For sure. Let's go to Hims. Hims was annoying, as always, as Hims is. Too bad we don't have Iluvatar on because he was very much a Hymns fan. Now, the one thing I will say is this might end up to our favor greatly. And in fact, I'm probably going to wait on selling covered calls here because the cup and handle was completed on Friday. Like completed. And I didn't expect this because we were, you know, maybe I should redraw the cup and handle. I don't know, whatever. It would look something like this. Yeah, I guess that's more accurate since it's at the closing prices. It is a legit cup and handle. And it's interesting because this giant red spike and this one, these are all, this is a Friday, by the way. That's why I've got that marked out there. We talked about this could happen again. And it did for the wrong reasons or weird reasons of just the entire market sell-off, but it happened. So, like, I'm inclined to think this does come to fruition next week. And, you know, maybe it ends up, the hand, you never know on the handle. It could be out here. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I guess it does matter, but I'm going to say it doesn't matter. It could be out here, right? Who knows? But if we pop off Monday, Tuesday, there's significant upside. So this is a case where, because of the TA, I may lose out on an immediate covered call, but I'm happy to take that time loss. It's essentially just a theta loss, right? In the off chance, maybe not even off chance, in the chance that we have the God Arrow effect, and then I won't even CC. If we were to God Arrow to 70, I will not CC it. I will just straight up sell the shares. That is a case where, like, we've got these spike ups in Hymns, especially, where they never last. So if we end up having a spike up next week, I encourage people to look at the chart and say, would you make more selling at the top, or will you make more holding the shares and doing covered calls for, you know, maybe you sell in the money covered calls at 65. I don't know. Maybe it makes sense, but I'm not so attached to Hymns personally that I would want to do that. Instead, if we have that spike up, I will get out 100%, just to be clear. I tried to get out this week, and it looked like it was a sure thing for a minute there at 56, which would have been nice because that would have been just another couple $1,000s on top of the premiums of 1,500, which was also really nice. Potentially, yeah. I mean, did I get it at? No, I didn't get it at 53.50. Did I? I think it's 2,000 share appreciation, unless I had a different number of shares. No, it's 1,000. What am I thinking here? Yeah, it's 54. Okay. So, yeah, that would have been nice. I would have been thrilled if they got called away, especially with, you know, the resulting end of the week. But whatever, it's Hymns. And even if the God Arrow doesn't happen, we will eventually sell CCs in the 55 range for, again, probably good premium. And ideally, I'll be out before earnings. Then we had some CoreWeave plays. This was, oh man, I was so excited to see these get called away, potentially at 140. CoreWeave was, man, it was at 150 on Friday. And I'm like, oh, these are for certain disappearing. There's no way we're dropping whatever that is, 10% from the high of the day to below 140. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Come on. And sure enough, that's a 10% swing, 153 to 138.50. I think that's exactly a 10% swing, just about. So yeah, that kind of broke my heart a little bit. But that said, like, CoreWeave's fine. I'm happy to sell more on it next week. I did sell my CSP to close, which would have finished out of the money. So I guess I lost $100 there. But that money was redeployed, so that's not entirely true. It's a drama queen stock. Wait, which one? CoreWeave? Yeah, or Hymns. Both of them are. You're probably talking CoreWeave though. The CSPs though have been good. You know, like this was placed midweek, and then I did sell some for next week. Did you see these showcase? Did you do more CoreWeaves for next week, or were you sitting out at that point? I got 140s for next week, which right now looks like I'm gonna get 140s. And the funny thing is, like, people really panic on CoreWeave. I don't understand why. Do you remember when everybody was panicking about my 135s? They're like, what are you going to do? And I talked about this last week already, so I'm kind of repeating myself on that. But the answer was nothing. I'm going to sell juicy premium CCs at 140. And, like, the return on the 140s was really nice. It was, what, 3%? Was it? 2.8%. And another 2,000 share appreciation. Actually, this one was the one that was 2,500 because it's 500 times 5. So yeah, this was like, I was so excited for this one to hit. And instead, yeah, never got it. I couldn't believe it. The IV is very protective on CoreWeave. And again, I wish I had the image that you shared. Can somebody put that image? Do you have that AI image handy in Discord? I don't have Discord open. But yeah, that was like really nice for next week. That 385 at the time, we were at 150 when I sold this, or maybe it was 148, something like that. So again, like 385 on 140. So 140 divided, oh no, I did this backwards. 385 divided by 140. I mean, 2.75% return. Seems good, man. I'll take it. And that was, at the time, pretty far out of the money. So, yeah, 2K on very little effort. And generally happy with the shares at 140. I'm not sure we'll finish next week below 140. In fact, I think there's a good chance this doesn't get assigned. And we bounce back up at some point. I will say, you know, I've already got 8K lined up for next week, so that's always kind of nice. What did Archer finish at? I know I don't have Archer for today or anything. 1197. You're saying there's a chance these still get called away? That would be amazing. Oh, that's a bear flag. Bull flag. That's hilarious, by the way. I forgot I drew this. I said this isn't a cup and handle. This is a cup and waterfall or whatever. Like, we just pour out the cup on Archer. I will laugh if we end up following this one. I hope we don't. Because if we do, it means I'm holding on to my shares for longer. 145 CSPs for next week? Yeah, and even those, I look at them like, they're probably fine. Yeah, Archer, this is interesting that Archer stayed as high as it did, because this was the hype stuff. Remember the hype that we were talking about on, what was it, Monday? Right? Yeah, Monday. And then the hype dropped. And then we dropped again. Almost all the way back. It was out of the money for a minute there, my CC. And then back up. I don't remember what happened Wednesday. But anyway, this is most definitely like a consolidation bull flag. You can even see the volume drop here. So here, look. This is the thing about a bull flag. If you draw the stem, it's high volume. And then this consolidating pattern, it's usually a descending, something like this, right? This is not really well drawn. It would be this. Actually, this is good. It would look like this. That's pretty close to what it is. I guess we can bring this down a little bit, make it clearer. So the idea is from here, it would be an increase. Will that happen? I don't know. The news doesn't line up with that, but it's memey. It's memey enough to do it for sure. So I'll keep this on the drawing. We'll keep an eye out. Let's see if this is what transpires or not. Again, I'd be surprised if it did, but never say never. It will on the news. It won't. Yeah. So if like the Tesla news comes out here that they do have a partnership, which was what caused this meminess up here, this will rock it, dude, for sure. Like, I mean, for real, for real. But otherwise, look at this. I didn't even notice this. Dude, it's a triple top. That's not good. That's recent triple top, too. Like, this is yikers. It's either breakout or it's over for quite some time. Like possibly drop back into these channels over here. And that would be my luck, because I covered the shares. Definitely, if this had spiked up to 13, I would have pulled the Muffin Man and just totally sold shares. Well, Muffin Man, you didn't sell shares. You CC'd out, I think. But yeah, I am looking to exit Archer. It's not a huge position. It's only a couple %. But I just, I'm kind of done with it at the moment. We'll see. Yeah, he did do CCs, right? All right, so yeah, it was CoreWeave. Overall, happy with how CoreWeave shook out this week. 3.4K, we'll call that a win. And then we close out with Reddit. Yay, Reddit. Yay, made $400. Yay. And these were all, so these were CSPs. And this takes us back to my other topic that I wanted to talk about, which is, we talked about that. This is why we take profit early. And a lot of people ask this question. Why do you close positions early? And this was a great example of why. I closed this on Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday. I didn't get the best price on this either. I could have waited even longer. But 85% profit-ish, something like that. And when we look at the chart, this is why, especially on Reddit. We closed at my made-up line again. That's amazing. We're in this very tight channel right now. We were up here. Things were looking great. We even opened at 214, which was like, we're going to close this cup even earlier. Well, I'm glad I didn't change my cup shape, because we're not. But what we did see was my 200Ps would have been assigned. And would I have been upset if they were assigned? No, it would have been fine. But I was of the opinion that, like, let's get out now. Maybe I'll redeploy that. And if I was quicker and not distracted yesterday and with guests and stuff, I could have sold 200 or lower, 195 maybe, puts, cash secured puts on Reddit. Because you just never know what's going to happen. And this is a classic example of take your profit and then you have the flexibility to do whatever. On average, maybe that's not the best approach. Maybe that's too geared towards these Black Swan events where SPY drops a bajillion % in a day, right? Like, maybe. But the constant flexibility it gives you every so often is nice to have. Keeps you in a slightly more cash position over time. And I'm okay with that, right? Like, I like that flexibility to now have a little extra cash open for sales. And if we were to assume that this is not a long-term downtrend, which I think we'll have a good feel for by Monday, you know, if there's any weekend developments, and I haven't even looked at the news since yesterday, you know, I do think that we ultimately go back up. This is the SMA line. You know, more likely, I think we end up doing something like that next week, over the next couple of weeks. We'll see, of course. Then you're in a better position to maybe buy leaps, or to buy, I might buy RDTL here. What's RDTL at? I don't really want to look because I have a lot of it. But I was saying that if we drop to the 30s, I'll like probably put 100K into it. It would be 31 would put us back to the gap. So if we were to close this gap, which I thought this drop would have actually caused us to do, and it didn't. That's interesting. Instead, we keep testing back. Well, let's go to the underlying to these common points, these common lines right here. How did that happen? There's a lot of support there for some reason, this 200 level. I know we're slightly below it, and I don't even know why my line is slightly below it to begin with. I forget, like, this is, again, an imaginary line I made up prior to us being in this channel. So this is, like, very supportive right now. And if Monday we close the gap, then fine. Then I will wait. But if not, I'm in a great spot to sell 200 Ps for next week or lower at really good premium. And if we look at the premium, the option chain here, let's look at that. You know, for October 17th, 200 is paying 830. Is that the bid ask? Yeah. Oh my goodness, dude. 830, 875. 4%. More than 4%. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad I'm open. Now, in full disclosure, the alternative would have been I would have had Reddit at 198 and I could have sold at 7-ish, 750 for the CC side. So in this case, it ended up being slightly more profitable for the CSPs. But the optionality is there for us to do what we want, and I think that's really the key. All right, who's full port in Reddit with me on Monday? I'm close enough where you can't even say that. I can't even say that. All right, and that's it. That's my trades for the week. It was a good week despite the drop at the end. And again, you know, if we exclude the strategy shares, well, we can even exclude deck because it didn't do a whole lot. You know, 17.5 this week. Not including the, well, I would have bought that back for sure. So whatever. 18 for the week is fantastic. It was a great week. And looking forward to some real opportunities next week. Red is good if you want to grow. It's just like in life. You got to hurt a little bit every once in a while to really appreciate the good days, as Bob says, Bob Douglas. So you're semi-heavy in RDTL? Dude, you don't want to even talk to me about that, dude. I've got 69,420 in it, and that is not worth 69,420 anymore. I think it's worth like 41K right now. So yeah, you and me both. But I'm not sweating it personally. I think by earnings, there's a high probability that Reddit jumps back to not only here. I think we're going to fill out this cup. Okay, so maybe the cup, what is this? The 30th? Okay. Maybe I need to put this out a day. One day further. Which actually aligns slightly better here. There we go. Oh yeah, I wanted to touch the blue line. Like I meant to do that. This slight change though accounts for the earnings date. Originally it showed in November like somewhere over here, 13th or 6th or something like that. It is officially October 30th. So yeah, the cup would complete likely after the 30th. Now there is a possibility that something like this happens and we handle into earnings. But right now I think it's more likely this happens and we handle after earnings. Something like this. And then we got arrow again to 300. I think this happens. All right. I'm putting it on paper. This is where I think we go next with Reddit based on everything that we've seen, the current support and upcoming earnings that are likely to be really good again. And people go like, oh yeah, this company makes a lot of money. Fantastic. Am I getting lost in the Reddit sauce every day, dude? Yeah, you know, that is a risk. We were talking about that, right? Like, the gap goes to... Should I draw I'll draw another line for the gap. It goes here, right? Put put the gap line down. Could this happen? Could we fill it? Most definitely. In fact, there's even another gap down to here. I don't know about that one. We'll just leave it here for now. That is below. The thing is, the gap line is officially below the 200 SMA. I don't know, man. Could we? For sure. We did it before, right? Like, we did this disgusting gap fill over here. But this was tariff alignments, and the market was taking opportunity here to fill that gap, is what I would say. We didn't even go down there long, right? Like, we touched and jumped. And then really, like, from there on, it was just game on. So yeah, that's what that's my interim prediction. Will it be right? Will it be wrong? I don't know. I feel like this one's less certain. I was very certain about this cup that I took off for some reason. I think I was showing pictures on the what's it called? Challenge. It was something like here to here, right? Whatever. It was like that. I think we got a smaller cup here. That was a cup and handle too, for sure. Here we go. We'll see. We'll see. I'm deep in the sauce for sure. And I'm a fan of Reddit. I think the business model is great. I think we're going to see continued growth and adoption internationally. They've added some new tools. I'm starting to look at using Reddit as a potential advertising for Theta Daddies even. We don't want to, like, as everybody knows, we don't want to explode grow, and don't worry, we won't, because we're not making a ton of money to be like, oh yeah, let's go spend all this money on advertising. But we do want to try it and see if it helps. I will say, like, wow, the volatility is spiking for Reddit too. You can't really see it over here. I can't show that easily. I guess I could. Whatever. You can look it up. So the premiums after this past couple of days, yeah, real juicy for Reddit right now, as always. Avilio, welcome. Sorry you're late. It's all good. I feel like way more downtrend coming on SPY? On the market, I'm assuming is what you're asking, right? You think it's going to backtest SMA? It could. Like I said, we'll see. We'll see. This is yeah, we have earnings coming up. That's why I'd be surprised on a back test before earnings, with it being so close. I think it's more likely there's a run up to earnings than there is a back test right now. Yeah, so we talked about this early on, which when the stream ends, or actually you can probably just go to the beginning of the stream if you want to. So I talked about this a lot already. I won't go too heavy into it, but I think in general, the SMAs are going to continue, and we're going to see that. I think we're going to go back to, if I bring the fibs back up here, it seems likely that we, by the end of the year, are looking at touching the golden line. This is 712. The 1618 fib is the golden ratio fib. We didn't actually test off the inverted version of that, which is this one. We got close. I thought, so my prediction going into yesterday was we were going to open high, touch this fib, and then drop, but close ultimately above the prior day's all-time high to have a new all-time high. Obviously, the algos had other plans, and we just dropped like a rock. But even then, the big thing that we talked about was this human driven? And I don't think so. So much of this was, at the end of the day, sell off. Like, how could every investor be staring at the chart at the end of the day? I would guess most people found out that the market dropped like a rock at like dinner time when they were scrolling on their phone, and they're like, oh my God, let me not look at my 401k for a week. So it's too late. Now, retail has all weekend to calm down. Algos will probably prop us back up Monday, Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some additional sell-off on Monday. But then I think it's unlikely we test down to the 100 SMA. That would be crazy with percentage wise how far down that is. Could it happen? Yeah, but I don't know. I think if anything, we test off the 50 SMA officially on Monday and start heading back up. That's my guess. We would have if Trump was an hour later. Yeah, that's true. Cool. Anything else you guys want to see or look at before we wrap up for today? There's a clean stream, no drop frames. That's kind of nice. So, going on close to an hour and a half. Not a bad way to start out my Saturday. I got more guests. I got one guest leaving today who just left. And then my dad is coming to visit. So I have to go change all the sheets and do a bunch of laundry this morning. Was there bull talk? A little bit, but I don't even think we looked at the chart now that you mention it. What? Well, look at that. Just pouring it out of the cup. It's more like a spout than a handle. Bull. I don't know. Bull is one of those things. Look, volume's getting better. Okay. We obviously, prior to this big drop, we were looking good yesterday morning. We were actually moving back up towards 13. It seemed at the time, because this is where we opened, 12:59. It seemed at the time that we were going to close somewhere up here in the 13s and shrug off this whole thing. But then, yeah, it was impacted like everything else. It was more so impacted than a lot of other stocks. If you look at percentage-wise, we were -9, almost the highest next to ONS. ONS was the biggest. And that just tells me that small caps were being affected, easier to affect as well, by the way, than the large caps, obviously. So bull, I think, next week just bounces back. This could be a cup into a cup. I don't know. The thing is, volume is so high. No, it's not going to be a cup. Volume is so high here, though, that it seems like, look at that green bar in the midst of the red. So much retail is buying in here right now. So much retail. I would be very surprised if we did not make our way back to the top fib in a couple weeks. And certainly I'd be surprised if we didn't get there by earnings. Right? This seems highly likely that we'll be back before earnings somewhere up here. That's my take. I say that as the future owner of 12,000 shares of bull as of next week, if we stay below 1250, which is, here. Which, by the way, is below where we opened yesterday. So again, I don't know. I don't panic about this stuff. Nothing's going to zero. It's all just Panic at the Disco in the algorithms, and the real question is, will retail respond Monday by selling? I don't know. I think there was definitely a whole series of people who got burned on calls and puts last week, both sides of it. I guess not puts, but calls for sure, as we closed out on the put side, most clearly, very clearly. But I think overall, I don't know, this isn't that bad. We're talking about not even lows from July. This is all warrant timeline type stuff. And the big thing about bull is we're no longer shackled, as Bob Dog would say. The shackles are off. So we're free to do whatever here. And I would be very surprised if we didn't make our way back up from here. Is it possible? Obviously, not financial advice, blah, blah, blah. You all get it. You call that the teapot? I'm a little teapot. Ugh, I don't like the teapot. China stuff. Yeah, that's fair. That's true. That's a good point, Muffin. Webull is a Chinese business, right? So that could be a potential impact. But I don't know. Are there digital tariffs that I don't know about? I don't know. crypto is very affected by it for sure. We saw that with the dump. Did anyone get? I saw there was a bunch of like discussion about getting Bitcoin at 108. I'm not sure. It doesn't show us having dropped below on the daily anyway, 109. But like there was definitely a fire sale for those of you who were paying attention. 4,000 bull, 1363. I'm not sure what my cost basis is now. I could do that real quick actually. Because it's 1475, 6,000 shares. Oops. Where is the? I gotta change the font color so I can see things here. Well, I don't know why I made it black. So I have 6,000 shares at 1475. Now I have another 3,000 at 13, and then another potential 3,000 at 12.5 next week. So this times this, and then we're gonna sum all of this so I can do both. And then we can do divided by okay, so divided by, actually no, can't do that yet. This is not, just put this as 9,000. Was this divided by this? All right, so right now I have a 14.617, we'll call it, bull position on 9,000 shares. And if these get assigned, then it would be 12,000. 1375. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of shares, and honestly, a bit more than I want. It's a little over 10% position size on a good port day. So, like, we're definitely approaching max position size, if not at it, for bull for me. But at 1375 is a very comfortable cost basis. Despite where we are, because I long term I don't worry about it that much. 1375's below the top fib, and we've been hanging above that up until here. So yeah, and that's actually not true cost basis anyway. True cost basis with like all of the premiums over the last 42k. Again, you could lower my cost basis by 40k here if I really wanted to. It would be 123. So yeah, like true cost basis is 1025. So whatever, who cares? We'll see what happens. I feel fine here. 1025 is at the all-time low, all-time low. So to me, we're in a good spot for, if you want to add the bull, I think this is a fine spot to do it. You saw it at 105. Wow. They can restrict them doing business in the U.S. Yeah, but they're a global business. That's fair. I guess the U.S. exchange is by far the most interesting and biggest, so that is a concern. Saw it at 105k. Bulls in Florida. Well, the headquarters could be in Florida, but I thought it was Chinese owned. Isn't it? Does it say it here? I don't know where it would say. I probably have to go to the website. Okay, it was founded by An Quan Wang, however you say that, in 2016, but it's headquartered in Florida. I don't know. I need to look into that a little bit more, honestly. But you're right. Maybe we just are thinking it's Chinese owned because of that. A problem we can certainly find the answer to. Here. Oh, you know what we can look at? Institutional ownership. Yeah, this is all not helpful. Is Bull a Chinese company? Thinking. Come on, AI, just... What? Oh my goodness. All right, I'm not getting anywhere with this. We'll figure this out another day. Anyway, it's been a great week despite Friday. Keep your heads up, keep your chin up. Have a good weekend. Don't think about the market. There's nothing to think about. Remember, you can't impact your output metric in the middle of the weekend anyway, unless you want to go sell and blow all your cash. So, looking forward to next week. I think there's going to be some great opportunities. Keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully, you've got some cash to play with. If not, well, then just have a little patience as well, and I'm sure everything will work out as it typically does. You all have a good weekend, and I hope to see you next week when we do this all over again. Until then, goodbye. Hopefully that doesn't freeze the frame on a weird spot again.